All right, greetings everyone and welcome. I'm honored to have Nick Suter from End Time Independent News, my buddy from out of the northeastern portion of the United States. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you, Greg. Good to see you. There's probably a little bit of an echo. Let me fix that there. That was my bad. Good to see you. How you doing?
It is nice to see you, and you and I do these every so often on your channel or mine, and it's been time for one. Today's been quite the day. I've released 2 videos, and I was overwhelmed with how much stuff is happening all at the same time. So it was a little bit too much to wrap your head around and try to get it into a 10-minute update for people so they can see what's going on. This is one of those times where we need to discuss everything. And you and I have been preparing for this for a day, and we just compared all of our notes and we're ready to go all the directions. So for everybody jumping in here, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing, liking, commenting. We'll be watching for your comments. Our moderators are in the chat. I already want to give a big shout out to one of our great moderators from Hungary, who we're going to be talking about, not the moderator, Oink, but Hungarian actions today in the European Union, which negatively affect Ukraine. But further than that, there's a lot going on right now globally, and I stand by that it's all connected. So, Nick, we're going to just delve into it. We're going to do our best, guys, not to ramble. But there's so much to cover, and we'll do our very best to keep up with it. While you're here, our mods will be dropping into the chat also the link to Nick's channel. And if you have not subscribed to Nick End Time Independent News, you don't want to miss it. We do not view everything the same, but a lot of the important things, the most important things, we
agree on everything that matters. Yeah.
We agree on everything that matters. So, all right, guys, well, let's jump to it. I think, Nick, what we want to start with is what we were just talking about in the green room, and that is some drones flying around and some warnings over the United States. I didn't really pay attention to this. I was catching up reading some Ukrainian news prior to going live, and quite a few sources that I trust completely out of Ukraine were saying, hey, a lot of news about these drones flying around in Washington, D.C., a lot of news about American leadership needing to make sure they're safe and in protected places. And I just read through it and I go, what on earth is that? And as soon as Nick and I started talking, boom, he starts talking about it. So, what do you know on that? What's happening?
Washington Post broke the story actually last night. We went live with it on my channel as soon as within 5 minutes of Washington Post going live with it. And it's interesting because I think the Americans have a problem. And one of our problems is that we have become very disassociated from the effects of our own actions. We can go to war with anybody and it doesn't affect us very much. And so we go to war too easily. That's not a problem that's shared in the EU. They're so close to, if Spain and France has an issue, it affects everybody. So they all work together to try to solve their problems, and we don't necessarily do that. Now, 9/11 was a great example. A counterexample is one of the few times that animosity towards us actually struck the U.S. Well, it turns out for the last 10 days, drones have been invading the airspace of a number of air bases, including one in Miami-Dade, which is South Florida. This air base is the Central Command from which the entire operation in the Middle East is being organized. Also, an base in New Jersey and a military base in Washington, D.C. It's on a peninsula just, let's see, actually, and I just had the name of it up. It's McNair. Fort McNair, which has a unique distinction, which is that recently members of this administration have been moving on base so that they feel protected. But now, last night, a number of drones were spotted over this base, prompting McNair and a number of other Air Force bases to go to Force Protection Level Charlie, which in the U.S. is one short of Delta. Delta is we are currently under attack. Charlie is a designation that means the commander has intelligence indicating an attack is possible. So they've been very concerned. They have ruled out these drones as being American. This isn't some American military. This isn't the military, drones, a plane going or a drone going in the wrong way. They have ruled out, for the most part, civilian. This is because most civilian drones are fenced so that they can't enter those areas. So you'd have to modify it. And now some of the older drones can, but usually the operator isn't hiding. The operator's just like, oh, that gets drunk. Wouldn't it be funny if we just do a flyby of the airbase? And that happens, and they catch the guys very, very quickly. That is not what is happening here. What this appears to be is a probing and or reconnaissance against multiple U.S. bases on U.S. soil by these drones. They believe it could be Iranian sleeper cells. The Iranians have been putting people in here for quite some time, ever since the assassination of General Soleimani, Soleimani, thank you, in Iran by Trump in his first administration. There's been a fatwa against Trump, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and now former National Security Advisor John Bolton. So the Iranians have been interested in revenge. We know that the Iranians have said they will get revenge for the most recent assassinations, especially of the head of their intelligence officer and the head of the Republican Guard. They have sworn that they will get revenge, and our defense secretary would be revenge against that. So it appears as if they have assets in the area in the United States working on just such an attack. So obviously that was very big news to come out last night.
Well, let's do this. If you remember, over the last 12 months or so, at various times, there have been drones flying over European bases, European nations. And I'm going to do my best, as always, to be factual and analytical at the same time. The reality is there's drones in the air. The second thing is they're unknown. The third thing is we basically are in a world war. At least two regions are in heavy wars, and that would be the European and the Middle Eastern. We are threatening Cuba. You made references to Miami, which is very close. And at this point, if we were to listen to everything that the Defense Department, the Department of War, and I just don't want to, go down. I want to give as many facts as possible. The fact is, if we were to listen to every word that comes out of the United States right now, whether it comes from the president or his spokesperson, Caroline Leavitt, Defense Secretary Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Marco Rubio. We've already seen the fallout of Joe Kent. He went straight from resignation straight to Tucker Carlson's show.
Yeah.
So let's take one example. Multiple times over the last couple of weeks, the United States has said, and specifically Donald Trump has said, is we have 100% decapitated. We have decimated the Iranian Revolution. They have nothing. We've wiped them out completely. There's nothing they can do. Okay, so if we just take that one statement and we were to make a chart of everything that the weaponless, toothless, and please don't get me wrong, this horrible Mullah regime needs to change. And not talking about what they're doing to their, I'm just talking about how we're dealing with it. We have no mid-game strategy, and I don't mean to refer to it as a game. It's people are dying, but it's like a chess reference. We have no end-game plan. And everything that is coming out, we can't trust. It's almost as if we're listening to Russian propaganda. And I state that because within the last 24 hours, the United States, Israel, and the Middle East have been subject to significant attacks by Iran. For the first time, it is now confirmed. I was waiting for American confirmation. An F-35 was struck by an Iranian missile. It's not hearsay. We've got the video. Of course, you can always say, oh, that's AI. No, it's now confirmed. And there's only a handful of nations that can do that. Japan, Russia, US. It's like a half a dozen. And now Iran has to be added to that. So this F-35 has been struck, but they have nothing. Qatar has been...
And it landed safely, if I recall.
It landed safely, yes. It landed safely. Yeah. So we're thankful for that. Qatar smashed, double-tapped, triple-tapped on those gas fields, the largest LNG producer on the globe. In Haifa, Israel, over the last 12 hours, their refineries have been struck, and 50% of the metro Haifa region, I've been to Haifa, beautiful city there in Israel, has now no power. So these are just a couple of examples. And we already know continually ships are being struck in the Strait of Hormuz if they attempt. They are being struck by those Iranian Revolutionary Guard speedboats. It's a fact. I was watching the satellite imagery last night. They are not all AI boats. So this is the reality of it. It is impossible to find the truth unless you really take all of the stories, put them together, and keep an open mind. So for me to get back to the opening story here, that there's possibly some drone activity or sleeper cell activity. Well, absolutely. Of course. And it will continue. It will absolutely continue. It's unbelievable. I want to say thank you to everybody jumping in here. Steve Cousins, F-35 was clipped by an Iranian missile, and this is a big deal. So it was not shot down. It landed safely, but yes, it was hit. Accidents happen. That's right. Let me,
I do want to clarify the report that I was referencing, though, on the drone activity was from the Washington Post, which is in general a very reliable source, and they cited multiple officials inside each of those bases. So that's what, at least for us, brought it to the level of concern where we need to talk about this, because it's looking like there's activity actually happening on U.S. soil, which is we as Americans are not accustomed to. Other countries have to deal with it. The UK is, had to deal with various, terrorist organizations and so on. So, and for the United States, it's an afterthought most of the time.
Well, we're both Americans, and it's not even in the thought process of people walking around on the streets, and it's very, very dangerous. Additionally, we haven't spoken, but I see it going by in the chat there. Lebanon, the fight in Lebanon, and the battle with Hezbollah, and now Beirut being struck very heavily. It is a serious deal.
And you're right. It's all connected. It's connected, actually, believe it or not, in part to the Epstein files, and also in large part to Russia. and Russia's war in Ukraine. And the other thing that we've had some people discussing, because here's the thing, the U.S. recently reached out to Zelenskyy and said, we want your help because we've got Shahed drones coming over, and that's part of what's closing the Strait of Hormuz is the Shahed drones. We'd like to know how to intercept them because the U.S. has no experience doing that sort of thing. And
Well,
none of these, yeah.
No, I want you to finish that, but before you do, and I don't want to interrupt you, but Zelenskyy offering, we can help. He even restated it at the British Parliament. He restated it today in the EU. From all the information I have, I can confirm that at least 200 Ukrainian specialists are in the Middle East helping right now. And we know that we've had Donald Trump come back and say, we don't need Ukraine's help. We don't need Zelenskyy. We've got the greatest drones on the planet. We've got the greatest technology on the planet. And we do. We have incredible technology. But when it comes to dealing with Shaheds and drone technology, I'm sorry, but Ukraine is leading the way. Russia is leading the way. And ladies and gentlemen, Iran is leading the way. So, we've had 12, 14 Reapers taken down. It's just,
if this was Ukraine, none of those drones would have gotten over the air bases. Would have gotten anywhere near where Rubio and Hegseth are living. It wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have been permitted. And we're just sort of like, wow, you can do that with a drone?
yeah.
Well, it's not a type. We're very good at certain kinds of warfare. Drone warfare is not one of them.
No. And we need to, okay, we're going to cover everything tonight, guys. And I'm watching the breaking news over here. We're going to cover everything. This is the problem, though, Nick, when we turn our friends into our enemies. Or let me even be as fair as possible. We marginalize our friends. We make them irrelevant.
That's being overly charitable to a point where you're probably doing a disservice. The reality is we've insulted our friends.
Fair enough. Happy to use that word there. Quote, Keir Starmer, no matter if you agree with his politics or not, he's the prime minister of the UK. You don't call him a loser. Okay?
You don't,
It's our friend. Okay.
And you don't call him a coward.
You coward, exactly.
And say that EU and NATO is cowardly because we support them, but they don't come to us in our time of crisis. Greg, I know you for a fact you know the answer to this question. What's the one country that has ever invoked Article 5 of NATO?
The United States.
We're the only ones who have asked for NATO's help. We got it. So he's sitting there going, you guys never help us and we provide everything. We're the only ones who've ever asked for help and we got it. They shared intelligence with us. They helped us find bin Laden. NATO was, and here he is sitting there. So, and this goes to what you were saying earlier about truth and lies.
China leading drone technology too. Keep going. There was a really good comment.
There are two Trumpisms where he's said he's inverted everything he said in a 24-hour period. The first is we want NATO to come in and help us. Then it's we don't need NATO. Then it's we won and Iran has been defeated. That was 48 hours into this. We won and they've been defeated. Now could NATO come and help us because we can't get the strait open because they keep bombing it? Then I sent you that piece from Hegseth where he goes, no, the strait is open. The only problem is that when ships try to go by, they blow it up. That's the problem. It's like, okay, that the strait's not open. Then when NATO says no, he's like, well, we don't need NATO anyway. They're a bunch of losers. So he's acting like a spoiled child. But he also did the same thing. So Iran has actually been reasonable in its target selection, and so has the U.S. and Israel. We destroyed one of their desalination plants by accident. We also hit the school, which was an accident. They retaliated by hitting one desalination plant in Bahrain, but only one. They didn't hit 3, 4, 5. They didn't sit there and say they retaliated proportionately. But they said, if you hit our permanent infrastructure, we will retaliate, and we'll retaliate on our neighbors. Well, yesterday, Israel hit the South Par gas refining facility. It's one of 3 facilities. The other 2 are shared by Qatar that mine the same gas field. And what Iran did, which was in wartime as civil as you can get, they called UAE, they called Saudi Arabia, and they called Qatar and said, we are about to destroy your facilities. These are the ones we're going to destroy. Evacuate them now. They then destroyed them. Trump said, if Iran continues, we're going to destroy that facility fully. Then he says, oh, we didn't know that Israel was going to do it, and they did that without telling us, which we already knew wasn't true. Israel notified us beforehand. Then Benjamin Netanyahu has come out and said, no, we didn't notify them. And then Trump has said, we've told them never to do that again.
Correct.
So he went from, we're going to blow it up, to, oh, Israel did it. We had no idea, and we've told them never to do it again in a 24-hour period. It's the most amazing. It's just...
it's smoke and mirrors, man. It's smoke and mirrors. There's some good questions coming in. There was a good comment that went by. I tried to catch it so I could put it on the screen, but I couldn't. It's going too fast. But it was, right now we're making enemies out of our friends and turning our enemies into friends. And that basically that's what was said. Viggo Holmanson also here making sure U.S. didn't invoke, but it was invoked on the behalf of the United States. Everyone came to the aid. Claire here for Cars for Ukraine. And Claire, I had sent a message to Cars for Ukraine. Can you check on that for me or message me in Discord or something? Can either of you tell me, apart from self-defense, the Gulf states are actually doing politically or military? They have huge wealth. Yes, they have huge wealth. And right now they're putting out statements, edicts, red lines, but there will come a point where they will get involved militarily, and they're trying to hold off to the very last possible second because, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what I've talked about on some videos over the last couple of days, the moment other Arab states start firing at Iran, here comes Turkey. And Turkey is the big wild card here. The NATO member, the supporter of Iran, the middleman on Russia and Ukraine, to be as polite as I can there. But if you look in here, guys, and we're ready to go, you know, what's being hit by Iran? Well, Iraq is, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Dubai, of course, Israel, and then Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So,
and recently, I think they just hit Afghanistan.
Okay.
I may have to.
Well, I know Pakistan and Afghanistan are going at it.
Yes, they are. I think they recently just hit Afghanistan. I don't remember what.
Big time.
Yes, Afghanistan and Afghanistan's taken the opportunity to go at Pakistan.
Correct. So but listen here, guys. Pakistan and Iran are partners. Okay. And Pakistan is heavily nuclear. So can you just imagine if all of a sudden all of these Arab states start firing back? Well, here comes Turkey to the game now. Here comes Russia to the game. Here comes China to the game. This is what we're really looking at. So I think that's trying to be held back as long as possible. And once again, you know, Lebanon very involved, Hezbollah all throughout Lebanon, and everything I watch out of the Middle East down here, it's down here, but in Yemen, the Houthis just have their finger on the button to start slinging missiles at ships in the Red Sea or the Suez Canal. So the bottom line is, the reason they're not twofold. Number one, it would create instant escalation beyond what we're witnessing now. But number two, American military bases and installations are in these nations, so their territory is being used to strike. So that's some of the reasoning there. The other thing that I would say, and then we can move on to another topic off of this map here, is right now, Iran is talking I need to zoom out one little bit here. There is an
I have one comment before we move off the map.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll come out to this level. Mm-hmm.
Well, so if you want to understand how and why we got into the Middle East, because that wasn't quite Claire's question, but I think that's an important one. Why are we really here? Because we've given about 20 excuses. None of them are real. It's the Epstein files in two different ways. Believe it or not, it's the Epstein files. Here's why. Epstein credibly was selling compromat on whoever was at his island to Mossad, to Putin, to any number of people. If he was selling it to Mossad, then Benjamin Netanyahu likely has it. If Trump was involved, which he almost certainly was. The evidence is extraordinarily overwhelming. That means Netanyahu probably has compromat, as does Putin, on Trump. So Trump is in a bit of a bind. But when Benjamin Netanyahu wants a favor, Trump has to go through with it. And the reason almost certainly is because there's some form of compromise, probably provided by Epstein himself. And aside from the fact that he wants to take everybody to stop talking about Epstein, so he's up for a war anyway. What does Benjamin Netanyahu want? He'd love to see the Iranian regime gone, but that's not his primary goal. His primary goal is to take Lebanon, the entire country. Mm-hmm. He wants it. He may get as much as half on this go, maybe even more, but he's arguing for half, and he is preparing for a full-on invasion of Lebanon. He's preparing the forces. We all know they're there. This is, and Greg Terry knows these are facts. This is not speculation. He has said he's going to invade. Right now, they've just been softening it up. Beirut has been completely evacuated. Half the buildings have been completely demolished, and he's going to go all the way up at least to Beirut. So he's going to, that's actually over half of Lebanon. He wanted cover to do that. Nobody's talking about this completely illegal invasion of Lebanon from South Lebanon, which he really shouldn't be in anyway, as it is. And the reason nobody's talking about it is because of what's happening in Iran. So while the U.S. is engaged in Iran, and so is Israel, they're certainly engaged there, they're also engaged in Lebanon, which has nothing to do with us, but it started, they invaded only after Iran started. Iran is Benjamin Netanyahu's cover for snagging. Yep. So there's what is that? Is that
Israel?
Okay, there's Israel.
Yeah. And then you come into Lebanon here, and here's Beirut.
Well, they already have. So there's if you can see the river, there's a river there that forms kind of a backwards. Yeah, they already have everything south of that river. They're not supposed to, but the last ceasefire deal, there it is. The last ceasefire deal got them to fall back to that river, but from that river down to the Israeli border is not Israel's, and they're still occupying it, but they are now staging from there further attacks to basically go all the way up essentially to Beirut at a minimum.
It's that buffer zone.
Yeah.
Right through that region there. And once again, people, it's hard to understand, like, and Claire, I saw your message. Yes, I sent an email. I try to explain to people how close things are. It's hard to understand, especially if you come from a bigger country. But from Beirut just to the physical border is 50 miles. So
Jesus,
70 kilometers. It's nothing. These are so close. That's why it's just unprecedented what we're witnessing right now. 89 kilometers, 55 miles, 89 kilometers is what that distance is. Now, that takes me over to this. But before I get there, let me do this, Nick.
Well, and they had asked Biden if they could go in, and Biden was like, no, no, absolutely not. And they asked Trump, and he said, sure. But then they're like, well, let's do Iran first. And that's literally the reason we're in Iran is so Israel can invade Lebanon. That's it. That's the biggest reason.
$10 super chat from Blonde Bombsheller. Shout out to the awesome chat. Isn't it? We have the best mod team on the planet. Thank you, BB. Linda S. down in Australia. And Linda, I did see your message go by earlier that, you're not feeling the best or not getting all the juice going right now. So many blessings upon you down there in Australia. And thank you as well. Shouting out to the mods, all the work doing, keeping the Hope Train on track. And they do a lot to keep the Hope Train on track. I've gone fishing.
If anybody wants to eject the Titan Uranus official account, I have no idea who that is. I've never met that person in my life.
That would
and
be
whatever
Nick's
he's
own
saying.
Moderators and team.
That's the ugly rumor. That's what he's been telling people, is that he's my head mod. I've never met him.
Well, it's not me, I promise you. Super chat $2 from I've Gone Fishing. Can Ukrainian sea drones help protect ships? Not really. They could protect ships maybe from other ships, but the reality is they're more of an attack vessel, attack vehicle, reconnaissance cameras, striking with munitions. Some carry actual mounted caliber machine guns on them in addition to whatever other payload they're carrying. But here's something I'll throw out there. Can you just imagine sea drones being the mama drone carrying 20 FPV drones, and then the FPV drones launching into the air off of the sea drone? Y'all better pay attention, guys. This is from Mark.
We had a moment on our show where we're watching the new MIRVs. The Iranians are throwing these shells that split up into 20, 30, and you can see them, and it looks like it's raining fire on Israel. That's what it looks like. And so we were looking over, and I'm just sitting there going like, isn't there something in the Bible about a war in the Middle East and then it's raining fire? And I was like, do I need to call Greg Terry? Do we need to get an extra? Because I don't know enough about the Bible. It's like, I'm a little worried now. I'm actually starting to get worried. But yeah, so that's probably a very inappropriate joke. But having said that, it
makes you wonder, brother. It makes you wonder. Mark and Elena BLUESKY out of Canada / Ukraine. And Mark and Elena, if you're watching, I know that, I almost said it. Thank you, Lord. Your hometown, Elena, there's been some strikes there around with some infrastructure. So wishing all the best for mom and dad and your family and friends there. Gulf partners like Saudi Arabia and the UAE are walking a tightrope between wanting the threat neutralized and fearing the retaliatory cost to their own infrastructure. Great live stream. Yeah, absolutely, Mark. And that's on the cost. Now, there's a couple of interesting things happening right now that I want you to be aware of, and I'll get back to more.
And I did want to ask you a question real quick, and I think this may be along the lines of where you're going, but we were talking about Iran and how we're turning our friends into enemies and enemies out of our friends. Iran has a new friend, is my understanding, someone else who is now going to be buying their oil and paying for their war against the U.S. Who is
Ladies
that?
and gentlemen, we have breaking news. Treasury Secretary Bessent, a little while ago, has all but confirmed that the United States will be removing the sanctions off of Iranian oil and selling it on the open market. Once again,
it's a perfect. Yep. So we are going to be paying. We're going to be sending money to Iran,
fighting us,
and we've upped the value of that oil. That oil is worth more now because of this war, so they can sell it, make more money than they've ever made in their lives, and spend that money sending drones to kill Americans.
Mama and Tato are safe. Thank you, Mark. I saw that. Yeah, guys, and You can go see it for yourself on Twitter or anywhere. We're telling you the facts. I'm just not downloading the video and throwing it in here. Besant just said this within an hour ago. Now, along the lines of that, Donald Trump met with the Japanese Prime Minister today, or
he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And of course, made some off comments about Pearl Harbor, but I don't want to talk about that. I do, but this just happened. Listen.
Yeah.
If he was just asked, if the war is almost over and we've decimated them, why is the Pentagon stumping Congress for another $200 billion?
Yeah, we've requested $200 billion for the war.
I thought it's over.
Well, it is over.
We decimated them.
But we did decimate them. But here's the problem.
Wait. No.
Yep.
We have to offset the coffers that we are increasing by taking the sanctions off of the enemy's oil.
Exactly.
I mean,
well, and the other thing is 90 ships have actually successfully passed through the Strait of Hormuz. All of them come from one country. Would you like to guess which country that is, Greg?
Iran.
They've been, of course, letting their own ships get through, and the U.S. hasn't been stopping them. We can stop those ships, but we don't for two reasons. One, if we sink a ship in the strait, that means it'll take forever to open the strait back up again because there's only 2 lanes deep enough to have the ships go through. So we can't actually sink it. And then the second problem is right now it's 20% of the world's oil supply has gone down, and it's actually dropping even more because as they hit these other countries, they can't get oil out through the pipelines and other ways. But Iran is still supplying world oil. So once we remove the sanctions, the price should go down by that representative 4%. But that 4% is, since the Strait of Hormuz is 20%, that reduces that's a 20% reduction in how much the problem is by closing the strait, just by letting Iran through. So by letting Iran through and keeping it partially open, yay.
Yeah. And I can confirm India and China getting through as well.
Oh, good.
We do.
Well, I was worried there for a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news from Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera now confirming that the United States is going to unsanction Iranian oil, marking them as the best enemy of all time.
We've never had a better enemy.
That's what they're saying.
We killed all their leaders and they still want to sell oil to us. They're just really great guys. I've never seen a country you can do that before. Usually you kill their leaders and they get pissed at you, but they still want to sell us their oil. Oh my God.
All right, let's look at some other things. Let's stay on this because then I want to move to Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, because we don't have enough crazy stuff going on.
Okay. But before we go there, reports now, it started with Financial Times and now it's others, and I'm seeing it everywhere on Russian news. Okay. And no, ladies and gentlemen, I do not believe everything in the Russian news, but I do read it. And then when I cross-reference it with sources that are more trustworthy, it brings more credence to it. If the liars are saying it and then the regular, fairly trustworthy are saying it, then there's probably some truth to it. But 2 oil tankers have either already arrived or very close to docking in Cuba from Russia to support, their energy blockade. Cuba has been basically blacked out. So very interesting times. And we hear crickets. Oh, that ain't crickets. That is. We hear crickets right now from Washington on that, because it was like, 72, 96 hours ago where I really struggled with what President Trump said when he declared, when Ducey from Fox News asked him, well, what about Cuba? And Trump said, Mr. Trump said, well, I can do whatever I want. I can free it. I can take it. I can do whatever I want with it. Now, that's a quote, guys. Go look on my video. Now, Russian tankers are showing up. What's he going to say now? I mean, really, all of this is so connected. It's almost unbelievable.
Here's the scary thing. I mean, I loathe Putin. I loathe the entire regime. Thank God he sent those oil. Thank God those are going to be there, because the problem is they have suffered a complete failure of their electrical grid. They don't have enough oil to keep the electricity flowing. So they're facing mass starvation, facing water shortages. They can't pump water. They can't desalinate. They can't do anything like that. And they have no electricity. And what originally Trump was going to do, and he said this, he's like, after Iran, I'm going to send Marco Rubio down there and he'll take care of that problem. And it's transactional for him. He doesn't think about the people. I can do what I want with Cuba. Cuba is a thing. It's not a country that has people who are starving to death and need some sort of, and they've even said, look, Trump, you broke Cuba. You need to fix it. You need to help the people that are here. And he's just like, no, sorry, it's Iran. The problem with Iran is they're fighting back, which he really got surprised about. And I sent you the video clip of him going like, nobody anticipated that they'd fight back. Nobody thought that they'd be striking other countries. And it's just like, they said it. They sent a letter to the UN Security Council saying, if we get hit, this is what we're going to do. And it's precisely what they've done. And they've been saying it for years.
This is like a real live for me now when I'm doing something covering breaking news. I'm watching things as they come through now, reports. And by the way, Papa Dutch, just for you, it is 923 miles from Havana to Houston. And yes, it's accurate. One thing we're not thinking about with all of these oil fields, refineries, and we're going to close out of the Iran section in just a moment and move to Europe, but multiple reports coming through now. I haven't even thought about it till now. Over 100,000 Europeans, mostly people from the UK who are working these oil fields, have lost their jobs. They now have no employment, and that number is increasing daily. So, you know, you have to think beyond just your gas tank and global infrastructure. There's so many dominoes falling right now that it's hard to actually keep up with them.
I know you want to, if I can real quick, here's the other one.
I'm on no hurry. Go, man. Go, man, go.
So here's another one that people don't often think about. Okay, in the U.S., in the 1930s, we started subsidizing corn. The reason we did that was because we wanted to make sure that farmers would continue to make this, but they couldn't make a profit at it. So what the U.S. government said is, we will buy any excess corn that you don't sell. Well, for farmers, all of a sudden, they're like, well, then I might as well just only make corn, because I'm always going to have a customer for it, no matter how much I have. There's no such thing as a surplus now. So this started creating an oversupply of corn, and the U.S. government has been buying all this corn and has to do something with it. So it sells it back at sharply discounted prices to various companies. That's why we have ethanol, which is a corn-based fuel, and right now mandate that 10% of all gasoline is comprised of ethanol. So 10% of all gasoline right now is ethanol, corn-based fuel. We put corn syrup in basically everything because it's the cheapest syrup available. It's the cheapest sweetener available because there's so much corn because of these subsidies. And it's also used in livestock feed. So all of these things, corn is used in everything, whether we think about it or not. Corn is one of the most nitrogen intense crops there is. You get nitrogen from the atmosphere, but the way to get it requires natural gas. You have to heat natural gas to a much hotter than it would normally burn by itself, and then you can get ammonium nitrate out of that. Natural gas, all the natural gas, the three largest production facilities, which all tap the same natural gas well, have now all been hit. So natural gas prices are going up. This is affecting the ability to actually create fertilizer. So the cost of all crops are going to go up, but corn most of all. So farmers are, over the last 2 weeks, having to decide, are they going to plant corn or soybeans? And while we don't know yet, we're not going to know until the official crop report goes to U.S. What is it? The Agricultural Department,
Mhm.
and then they released the report on the 31st, I believe. But then we'll find out how many people have switched from corn, which now cannot in the US be made at a profit, even selling it to the government because the nitrates are so expensive, to soybeans. Some are going to stay on corn, realizing that corn will fall back and the prices will go back up again, but many won't risk it. So we don't know. But what that means is the price of fuel, the price of feed for animals, the price of any food that has corn syrup in it is all going to go up. So now you've got all of these things that because you had no idea how closely related corn was to the Middle East. It's so, to Greg's point, it's actually, it is all connected in so many ways. It's amazing. It's
It
kinda
is,
cool,
and
but it's scary.
I saw, Linda, make sure you get your question over to Blonde Bombsheller. I missed it. And Dunk on You, thank you for that $20 super chat. Another one of our mods just got off work. He's nonstop rolling and gifted the 10 memberships. Thank you. And we'll get more to that in a moment. I want to now, let's switch gears to Belarus. And I'm sure a lot of you saw my video just a couple of hours ago, but I just want to play you a little bit of this here. I do not know this guy, John Cole. I'm not being disrespectful to John Cole. He's the president's representative to Belarus. I don't know him, so it's not personal, but for sure, just not really a good show here.
And the United States is lifting sanctions.
Было объявлено, я объявил президенту Лукашенко о том, что США снимают санкции.
Belarus Vest,
Белинвест банк,
Belarus Development Bank,
Банк развития Беларуси
the Ministry of Finance,
и Министерство финансов.
and we being the United States, is fully divesting BLUESKY and Belarus Potash Company.
Let me just interpret that. We just unsanctioned the central, there's companies there listed, but we removed the sanctions off the central finance ministry of Belarus. That's the most important part. And Vladimir Putin works directly with Minsk, funding, moving money, funding the war machine. And, you know, I know we were talking about Iran, but I want us to move up here. Yeah, some political prisoners were released, but the reality is it's a horrible, horrible move. Lukashenko is not your friend. Lukashenko is Putin's friend. Lukashenko hates Zelenskyy. Putin hates Zelenskyy. Lukashenko hates Europe. Lukashenko hates the US, no matter what he says. And you are putting money in their coffers, inviting Lukashenko to the United States for a state visit. I'm really just disgusted at every time it seems we make progress. For example, just a week ago, Zelenskyy was and still is the best leader on the planet, bar none. And he's telling the world, you got a problem down there in Iran, and I've been fighting them for 5 years now up here. We can help you. You help us, we'll help you. We're partners, we're friends. And, you know, for a few days, it looked like that was going to be very active and a great open door. And yes, there are 200 Ukrainian specialists down there helping, but really pretty much a big slap in the face back on that. And then we have to see that the very nation who is helping destroy Ukraine is having sanctions released off of them. It's disgusting.
Well, and they're a great intermediary. I mean, we're removing a number of sanctions on Russia too. It's a 30-day waiver for the oil, presumably only the oil that they have currently out in shipping. So it's oil that would go to India.
But
yada,
make
yada,
sure,
yada.
and I completely agree, that is the fact. But make sure you heard the statement at the end, and hopefully we won't have to put sanctions back on.
Well, and yeah. No, I don't think the sanctions, because I think whether the waiver it just expires or they extend it, I don't think the waiver is going to be if it expires, that's not going to be enforced. I think the 30 days is basically indefinitely. I don't think Trump has any interest in the effort of actually enforcing any sanctions beyond that for any number of reasons.
Let me make this
Yeah.
very clear for people to see. Never want to assume people love geography as much as I do. I'm nuts about it. But let's do this little look right here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the nation of Belarus. It is large. It borders the Baltic states this way. Moscow here. Kyiv here. Poland already been putting defenses up. When I am in Poland, I see the defenses. I've seen the dragon's teeth, the barbed wire, the open cut lines. They're prepared, okay? And that's why we're hearing some rumors about a possible Pole exit. We'll have to keep our eye on that, like the Brexit. But Minsk, capital of Belarus, on the territory of Belarus, somewhere in this area, supposedly, is an Oreshnik ready to go. That is the, super weapon, or one of them, of Russia. And it is a good weapon. In addition to that, quite often, Belarusian airspace is used to push communications when the drones, the Shaheeds, are flying in northern Ukraine. They're bouncing signal off and bringing the signal back in so they can navigate these Shaheed drones. In addition to that, Belarus was used for the initial invasion into Kyiv, their territory, and the Russian army quite often rotates training down here into Gomel, their training grounds right here. Of course, they're training where they're close to Chernihiv and Kyiv. It's so close, guys. And this is the nation we just released sanctions off and invited the president to come hang out in D.C. This is just an This is,
and they've threatened more than once to invade themselves. They've never.
Oh, yes, that
done
was
it, but
really
they
a lot of
threatened,
talk.
yeah.
45, 60 days ago. This is just indicative that we have no idea of the decisions that are being made and the repercussions of them, and all of the checks and balances that we are supposed to have in our government. The United States Congress, the justice system with the Supreme Court, the president's cabinet with the different secretaries. It's a one-man show. And I think, we're preaching to the choir here, and it doesn't matter where you fall on the platform, what side of the aisle. If you can't look at it and see it's a one-man show, there's something wrong with what you're looking at, because it was even Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham. I can pull video of just choosing those three individuals from 10, 8, 6 years ago. And when you play it, you would bet everything in your pockets, anything you get your hands on, that they would never serve in the cabinet with Donald Trump nor agree with him. And now those voices that could be a voice of reason, or hang on here, this is, you don't understand Russia. You don't understand Cuba. You don't understand Belarus. You definitely don't understand Iran and Israel. They're gone. Whatever he says, they just follow like lemmings. And it's even down, Caroline Leavitt makes it very clear. Tulsi Gabbard made it very clear in the hearing on Capitol Hill this week. Well, ultimately, it doesn't matter because whatever the president says is what we do. It's very dangerous right now for the United States of America, and that makes it dangerous for other nations because we're so interconnected. But this one today with Belarus absolutely disgusted me, and we'll see what unfolds from it. Nick, on another topic, President Zelenskyy spoke today to the European Union leaders, and Viktor Orban and Robert Fico from Slovakia held on to their veto powers, and Ukraine did not receive the 90 billion euro security package. It was vetoed. As of right now, they were not able to get around it. Everything I've read and studied, it was an hour and a half, 90 minutes of European leaders trying to persuade Orban and Fico, but to no avail. And Zelenskyy made incredible statement there. I want to play it. I'm watching another video over here. I want to play it in just a moment, but before I do that, Ukraine is at a time right now where they could absolutely make some serious damage on the battlefield and take some serious territory back. That was validated today when they smashed the offensive coming in at Lebanon. I covered that in my video from 2:00 today. And they're getting stronger every day in their ability to hit rear targets. Moscow is operating out of fear. Their communication channels are being limited. The society is being closed more and more. This is the window of opportunity. And I just am hopeful that the things that Ukraine needs, like this 90 billion euro security package, gets through. The 20th sanction package on the EU stalled. Sanctions being eased on Russia and now Belarus. The questions about defenses and air defense and supply, not only based on the war in the Middle East, but also off the statements of Hegseth today, just puts us in a place for a lot of questions. So I want to play two videos here. Let's do Hegseth first, because I think this is what we need to see. And then I'll play the Zelenskyy.
And I think, we're also still dealing with the environment that Joe Biden created, which was depleting those stockholds and not sending them to our own military, but to Ukraine, which is every time we reach back and look at any sort of a challenge we have, it goes back to, well, send it to Ukraine. Ultimately, we think this should be these munitions are better spent in our own interests at this point, and this kind of funding bill is going to ensure that we're properly funded going forward.
Yeah. So, he's talking about the 200 billion there in Iran. We need this money for that and this and that. But can there ever be a day where Ukraine is not blamed?
No.
Okay. Can there ever be a day that Joe Biden is not blamed? And I'm not a Biden fan,
Yes.
but I'm not blaming him.
No, I know, and I didn't mean to. I mean, it's not there. There can't be a day that they can't blame Ukraine, and the reason is, as we've said before, I thoroughly believe that Trump is in the pocket of Putin with some form of compromise or another, and he certainly is in the pocket because he owes 21 to 22 billion dollars to Deutsche Bank on loans that were co-signed by the Bank of Moscow, which means Putin. Now, Trump has not been paying any of the interest. He hasn't been paying any of the down payments, any of that. They're all being paid by Moscow, which means he's got the money, but he doesn't have to pay it back. But Moscow can change its mind on that anytime it wants to. So A, it paid him off, and B, it's got a very big stick behind him, a couple at least. So it has to be Ukraine's fault, and it has to be Ukraine's fault because if it isn't, it's Trump's fault. The incompetency of the Trump regime will be laid bare if it is ever anybody but Ukraine's fault. He can even accept that it's not Biden's fault, but it has to be Zelenskyy and it has to be Ukraine. Now, we sent, just as just a basic primer on this, which I'm talking to Greg Terry's audience, so they probably already know all these numbers. We have 5,000 Abrams currently in active duty. We have 3,000 Abrams in reserve. We sent, last I checked, which was about a year ago, 31 to 33 Abrams.
36.
36, thank you. So we sent 36 Abrams out of 3,000 in reserve and 5,000 active duty. If that has depleted the U.S. military so that we can't fight a war, which is the argument that is being made, then the U.S. has no position claiming that it's a great country or it's accomplished anything. With that many tanks and we lose 36, we can't afford 36 to an ally who, by the way, we have been fighting the Soviets, who eventually collapsed in an economic collapse. We are now stuck with Russia that has the same mental paradigm. It is a toxic, it is a paradigm that works entirely on sort of a criminal mindset. Everything's about bribery, cheating, you name it. And we've seen it in how they treat their prisoners, we've seen the difference in culture. And we can choose which one we want to be. And we have always chosen, until Trump, we have always chosen to be of the Western culture and to not participate or interact like that. Now we've got a president who's got 31 felonies, who is probably being bribed and or extorted and or all of these things, saying, oh my God, 36 tanks, we have to blame Ukraine. And the problem is the sanctions. Russia has never been closer to collapse. And we've seen this before because we actually deliberately did it to the Soviet Union. It wasn't easy, but we did. It was a huge challenge. We got it done. We deliberately did it to Cuba. That was a lot easier because it's like we're 300 times the size of Cuba. And now we've been doing it to Russia. And as it's working, as they have sold more of their gold reserves than at any point in history, as they've got lots of oil, but they can't sell it to anyone. So their refineries have to stop refining because they've got nowhere to store the stuff. The unemployment is skyrocketing. Ukraine is hitting not just at the Moscow level, but behind Moscow, which means they have to go through all the defenses that they have for Moscow and hit even further back. Ukraine has never been stronger. Russia has never been weaker. And, time to remove the sanctions and let Russia make as much money as it wants. It is devastating.
You whittle that down to where people understand, and you go, okay, well, yeah, that's what's happening because Ukraine is stronger than it has been. But I think it was Tulsi Gabbard. I know it was Tulsi Gabbard in the White House. I'm sorry, in the Senate hearings this week, where she actually made the statement that Russia is winning and Russia is stronger today than they were when they began. And I know we have such a, educated community as you do. You guys know, I'm telling you, that's what she said. That it's just completely broken. I saw somebody in the chat go by and it says, well, Putin doesn't have influence, anywhere else. I would just remind you that he actually does, because in August of 2025, the President of the United States rolled out the red carpet for him in a global summit that the world hit the pause button to watch. So don't underestimate that. And I'm not glorifying him at all, but we always want to be factual. Who else has had the red carpet rolled out for them? It's not reality. Remember, it's not reality. It's what's being projected as reality. Nick just gave you the
it's reality as Trump sees it.
Yes.
Trump says when he comes, he gets the red carpet. That's what Trump says. That's what he sees. He sees someone who deserves it, who's earned it.
Yes.
He doesn't see that with anyone else. That's terrifying.
All right. Oh, we're getting all kind of stuff. Yeah, I'll deal with that in a second because I can tell you about that. Joint statement by UK. I'm catching up to some of the questions from Kurt's been running the back end here. And Oink,
crazy.
Oink and Kurt been running the back end for me here on questions. Joint statement issued by UK, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, and Japan on willing to assist in the Strait of Hormuz. That's new, and that statement. So I have no thoughts on that.
I've heard the statement right before coming on. My assessment of that is that it's similar to the French statement. The French have said that they're willing to help. They've sent ships, and then they've pointed out they're willing to help once the temperature comes down in the region, while the countries today that have said that they're willing to help did not say that either. French eventually said that. They said, we're coming, we're going to help. And then when Trump said, you see, they're going to help and everything's going to be much better. Like, well, we're going to wait until we don't want to engage at full combat, operations. So we'll escort the ships basically once the war's over is what the French have said. So my suspicion is that's what these statements are today.
None of those nations are sending warships to the Strait. I promise you. Kind of a combo question here. This is from Joey and Nana. Do you guys think the world will survive another 2.5 years of Trump? I do. I do. And let me tell you why. Because I believe that the people are better than that. And it may be very difficult right now, but people are better. And I'm not talking about your political persuasion or your religious beliefs. I'm talking about the morality inside a human being. You're better than that leadership that is coming out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And, just hang on. What goes around comes around. That's what my grandma used to say. And will it change for Ukraine if Trump loses the midterms?
That question was for both of us. I get to answer that question too.
I'm comboing it. Will things change for Ukraine if Trump loses the midterms? Of course, I know you're talking about the House and the Senate in the midterms because, yes, things I hope would change. But to be completely honest, we may as well be light years from November right now because I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. But yes, it will be much more difficult for President Trump to get things done. Yet that hasn't stopped him now from just usurping authority, rejecting the rulings of the Supreme Court and finding another way around through a loophole. So of course, we'll definitely enter uncharted territories. But for me, yeah, guys, we're going to make it because we're better. You're better. You're a better person. And you make your environment better. We bond together in here. We fight together. We fight for truth together. We make mistakes. We fix them. We learn and we grow, but don't ever give up, ever.
Okay, 90% of everything Greg just said is wrong. So one of the reasons I'm a huge fan of Greg's, and this is legit, this is true, is because he is an optimist. And I think we need optimists, and we need people who, and I love that he calls this the hope train. I love that. I love being a member of the Discord. So that's one of the things I really love about it. But the way I see it, if we as a country were better, we wouldn't have elected him in the first place. So I'm a little more pessimistic about it. I think a lot of the audience here is better. I think that's why they're here, because they want to hear the truth and they want to listen and understand what's going on in places like Cuba, in Ukraine, where there's genuine suffering. So, but I wish I had more faith in the American people, because they elected this guy twice. However, I don't think we're going to have to go through 2.5 years. And the reason is there's indications already that he's very sick. I think if he starts to lose the ability to rule credibly, they're going to 25th him. I think they may 25th them anyway if they realize that it's the only way out of the war quickly, and they just 25th them and then say, oh, sorry, Iran, that guy was crazy. And Iran will never forget. They may still try to assassinate Americans involved, but they may be willing to just say, okay, and then we secretly give them reparations under the table. We'll never admit we're doing it. They secretly are going to keep trying to kill us, and we know that. But they'll stop enrichment, which they weren't doing anyway. We'll save face, they'll save face, and it stops. There is increasing pressure, and the fact that he's got genuine health problems that make me think we're not going to we don't have to hold out 2.5. And then the question is what happens. And the good news is, while there may still be Christian Zionists, Christian nationalists, and so on and so forth in the office that are trying to start wars in the Middle East or whatever, none of them, for whatever reason, have the gravitas that he did. I don't think it's gravitas, but the people who do are the ones who got him in power, and none of them like J.D. Vance or any of the others who could succeed him. I do agree with what Greg said about holding out hope. So I agree with that one. And I also agree, unfortunately, that if we get the House back, it doesn't necessarily help a whole heck of a lot. And the reason is because anything that they offer to Ukraine still has the presidential veto power. So without a president that isn't in Russia's pocket, it's going to be a problem.
Okay. Well, I'm going to come back to you now with a small rebuttal.
Here we go.
The chance of the 25th Amendment being used against Donald J. Trump is under 5%, under 3%. And it will only happen, in my opinion, unless if there is, and this is the possibility, a severe health crisis where he must voluntarily step down. Because legally, for the 25th to be activated, the vice president plus the majority of his cabinet have to declare him unfit. The vice president becomes acting president, and Congress may step in if contested with a 2/3 vote. That's a tall order right now, when today on March the 19th, 2026, when it looks like the entire cabinet is towing the company line. Now, that could change after midterms. Anything can happen. Health could change. For sure, he has health issues. Nobody knows what tomorrow holds. We're in a war. People are trying to eliminate each other. I can also tell you that the more Iranian leadership that is taken out, which is happening quite regularly now, that raises the bar that people would be unfriendly toward other leaders of the world. So can it happen? Yeah. Is it possible? Slim to none, but we'll see. And remember, now impeachment, maybe. But
I want to make one suggestion, though. Yeah. They aren't towing the Trump line. It looks like they're towing the Trump line. None of them are towing the Trump line. They are towing the oh dear Lord, what is it? The Heritage Fund. The Heritage Foundation's line. Mm-hmm. The Heritage Foundation and Stephen Miller are
Mm-hmm.
basically, I believe, in control. And the reality is the reason Trump has been an ideal candidate is because he doesn't have any ideology. So as long as they're
Nor
willing to give him what
morality.
nor morality,
Nor
correct.
morality.
So he and his entire cabinet are actually puppets of Stephen Miller and the Heritage Foundation. Right
Okay.
now, their
I'm
goals
with
align.
you on that,
But
but
if the goals suddenly, and I think the goals may start to shift if he doesn't turn around quickly.
I'm with you on that, but I would just remind you, technically, Stephen Miller's not the president of the United States, and the Heritage Foundation is not the president's cabinet. And right now, Donald Trump is the president of the United States, and he may be towing all of those lines, but he's still the president. And every one of those people who could do something to change that in the future, when I say towing the company line, just go listen to them on the news every day. Whatever Donald Trump says, the decision's his, I support it. So
that's true.
That's
true.
just, where we're at on that. Now, there were two questions that came in I want to get to on the maps. And I think one of these we really need to pay attention to. Let me find a good map here. Let's go to this one. There was a question on Estonia. Lots of talking about Estonia right now. And I want to come up here, get this in a place where we can see it good. Let's do this view right here. This will help you guys understand. All right. You're hearing a lot of talk about a town called Narva. Narva is the eastern border town between, it's in Estonia, on the Estonian border. I have been to Estonia minimum 20 times. Lots of time in Tallinn and Helsinki, been to Narva, all over, Tartu, Pärnu, Estonia, know it well. Did a lot of work in Estonia. Narva is what is called a Russian city. It's right on the border. Now, it has started to change some, but majority of people speak Russian. It looks a lot, much more Soviet Russian looking than Tallinn or Pärnu or Tartu. And then, of course, it's the major border crossing here. Now, over the last few weeks, we've been hearing about the Narva People's Republic. And this is a group of citizens who want to break away from Estonia and join Russia. These are facts. And many people would look at they have a green flag and it says Narva People's Republic. And they're begging Putin to come and save them. Now, 10 years ago, we scoffed at things like that. We scoffed when there was a Lugansk People's Republic. Ha, ha, ha. What a joke. And we scoffed when there was a Donetsk People's Republic. Oh, Putin coming to save you? You're in Ukraine. What are you talking about? And look where we are today. So this would be a great place for Putin to put pressure on the European Union right now or in the near future. We already know that the EU has been talking strong about securing that eastern flank of NATO. And of course, it pushes on up into Finland now. And while that's happening, all of a sudden, these people in Narva, oh, come save us. Come save us. Isn't it interesting? I'm not speculating here. We've already seen it happen in Lugansk and Donetsk. History.
Yeah.
There's a principle for it. St. Petersburg, this region here, the city, which is huge, and then down into Veliki Novgorod, which is here, and then you push down this western corridor and you come to Moscow. Now, ladies and gentlemen, You've been to Moscow, right, Nick?
Yes, I have.
Guys, it is massive. It is a massive city. St. Petersburg is a massive city. So you're talking about this corridor here is where you're seeing the most complaints of wireless networks not working, cell phones not working, couriers, banks, terminals, and the biggest complaints with the most outages are in St. Petersburg, right here. Isn't it interesting that the biggest place of no communication is up close to Narva? Now, there is, of course, speculation here, but the fact is the question's out there and it cannot be ignored. If I zoom in here, you can see, guys, this is the border. Let's see what we can do here. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Oh, I dropped myself right in the fort. Let me come out on a street. Where can I get to a street that's close to the bridge is there that goes into Russia. This is Ivangorod, right across the river. Let's just go to this center here, center circle here. Boom. Let's see what we got. Yeah. You see, guys? You see the buildings? Yeah, look at here. What does that look like? Soviet Union. That most likely was the Gazette building or the news building during the times of the Soviet Union. And I recognize that because of the roof on it. Of course, you can see all the antennas on top. They may still be using it for that today. That's an office building, 100% Soviet, either Gazette or radio communications. So that's Narva. And hopefully that was able to answer somebody's question there.
So I have a question.
All right.
So I've heard speculation. Yeah.
Please do it.
Please.
No,
I've heard speculation that one of the reasons that the internet is out and so much of the wireless signals are out across St. Petersburg and Moscow is because of concern of the Pegasus software. Pegasus is the hacking software that Israel likely used to identify where the leaders of all of Iran were. And we've had enormous success in killing them and killing them rapidly. And the theory is that it was done with this software, which can hack any phone, and you can turn on the GPS and you can tell where the phone is. So that the theory is that over fears that Ukraine may find a way to emulate this, Putin has ordered most of the internet down so that its leaders can't be identified and targeted. That was the speculation I heard. It's speculation. I was curious. You would know far more than I. And I told my audience I was going to ask you when I come on the show. So here I am.
I think it's a combination. I'm not a hopium on... Things are not always as good as they seem, nor are things always as bad as they seem, for me, the way I view things. But I will tell you this. When the United States and Israel took out Ayatollah Khamenei on day one, that's when you started to see an increase in the shutdown of communications. The United States and Israel, was right into the Iranian networks, the street cameras, everything. Guys, like you see on television in the movies. They knew everything. Mossad is everywhere in Tehran. Geo-tagging locations, putting markers on, spying on people. If you ever wonder, how is Mossad so good at these eliminations of key leaders like Hezbollah in Beirut? All of a sudden they take out a guy on the 4th floor of an apartment building with a drone that went through the window. because Mossad is everywhere. There's no conspiracy theory here. I'm not worried about the blacklist and all of this. I'm just telling you, they're everywhere. Just like the CIA, MI6, this stuff is real, and they're very good at it. So just like the FSB, the SBU, and the list goes on. How was Ukraine so successful in Operation Spiderweb? Because of the SBU. They had guys everywhere. They were in apartments right next to the leaders of those regions where they were deploying the attack. So there's a lot of intricacies involved. So that brings terror to Vladimir Putin. That is why you're seeing networks go down. A piece of the reason, increase in patrols, trucks with the weapons on it, new air defenses. You're seeing less of Vladimir Putin because there is always that fear of, if they can do that to Khamenei,
Yeah.
they can do it to me. I mean, even President Zelenskyy himself has stated, and I know the number is different for different people, but I have heard from his own lips where there have been attempts on him at least 6 specific times. So that's the world we live in. And I think there's a combination there, Nick. I really do.
Thank you.
There's another question here. I want to bounce back down to Iran, because it's a big question here. And it's about Khark Island. So there are, let me go down and do it this way first. I'm going to do this. Okay. All right, let's do it with satellite. So guys, Khark Island is the place where the United States struck, and it's, as I understand,
military, though. Just the military assets.
Yes. As I understand, though, it's like the key to the ignition switch of a lot of the oil flow is dependent upon this Khark Island. And we have seen multiple reports of where the United States is ramping up some potential Marines. We've heard about up to 2,000 Marines rotating around from the Far East. And, the speculation out there, and there was a question, if the U.S. goes after this Khark Island here, and I'm zooming in for you guys, you can see the actual oil, gas, refinery, storage, and infrastructure on this island.
And even more importantly, the number of piers.
Yes, and the number of piers, thank you, right here. So,
and those are huge oil tankers on them. So each of those piers, that's a full-size tanker.
Look at that, man. Oh, yeah. This is serious
90%
infrastructure.
of all their oil goes through that island. 90%.
Look.
They can fuel 20 tankers at a time.
Wow.
And it's all still running. That's why Iranian oil is still getting out. But if you look, it's very far from the strait, so it still has to go through the strait. It's on the wrong side of the strait but they're still running.
The question was, if the United States puts boots on the ground to secure this, do they become easy targets? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. When you have Iran striking targets, because I don't know what kind of air defense is there on Khark Island, because there's no Americans there or Israelis there. It's Iranian. So Iranian air defense is there. So if the U.S. goes after it and tries to secure this because of its strategic importance, do they become sitting ducks? Well, it will be very, and I'm not a military analyst, but for sure, logically, you would say much more a sitting duck than if they're over here in Kuwait City or any other place. So
As you know, though, on In Time, we do have a military analyst, Commander
yes, you
Lance
do.
McMillan, who
Has he spoken about Kark Island?
Yes, I've
And
asked him,
all
and
right,
we've
well,
had a
lay it on
discussion
us.
on it. It's actually 5,000 Marines that have been sent. It was 2,000. It was up to 5,000. And he
Okay.
gets that number directly from the Pentagon. So he said the Pentagon report has said that it's 5,000 on their way. That island is completely fortified against any sort of invasion. It's like Vietnam. They have all the hidden traps underneath. It looks like sand, but really it pops up and everybody comes out and shoots you. He said 5,000 is woefully inadequate to take that island. It's not even close to the number that they would need to take it, whether they're doing sort of what happened in Afghanistan, where Shoigu said, we're going to need 300,000 to take Afghanistan. Like, whoa, that's too big. Let's get somebody else to tell us how many we need. Or whether the Marines are going somewhere else, he doesn't know. But if they land on that island, they will get decimated.
Well, guess who has not been there?
Who?
The Google car with the camera on the top, because there's no street view.
There's no street view.
But I can come over here if people want to see maybe what it looks like. Let's see here. Here we go. This is Kark Island.
And that we know that air base has been hit. We know that the facilities around the air base has been hit, and we know that so far great care has been made not to hit the oil facilities, and there's two reasons for that. First is, again, now that we're going to unsanction the oil, we want them to produce the oil so that we can pay them more money. That notwithstanding, the other reason is because there really are rules to this war. Nobody struck, for example, deliberately any desalination plants. That's because it would cause a humanitarian crisis, the likes of which the world has never seen, if they start doing that. So that is off limits in this war, and so far everybody's respected it.
Okay.
The major oil production.
Breaking news off Kark Island.
Okay. Yep.
They have a Christmas tree. And it looks like they support Ukraine right here. I see a blue and yellow phone booth.
Oh my God.
Look at that. Sorry, Nick, but we're having a little fun now. So this is Kark Island. But
you need to find ways to laugh at this.
But you know what maybe is surprising?
What?
I mean, although Iran has a lot of beautiful places, I mean, it looks very nice. Very nice.
It's not and it's a reasonably rich country, and actually, aside from the severe oppression of women and various other genuine social problems, they do take care of their outlying tribes. They make sure that everybody's got adequate food and water. Everybody is subject to the morality police, which of course, like most authoritarian regimes, abuses its power, kills people without. So it's not it's a weird combination of things, beauty and sheer
I'm
terror.
under the umbrella right now, and this is the other end of the runway of the island. But man, look at the water.
It looks like Greece.
Yeah. Wow. And you know what's just, why can't we all just get along? Look how beautiful that is. How beautiful.
Well, if the U.S. tries to take that island, it would be considered a major escalation, even more than the hitting of the southern power fields was, which was an escalation. It was an escalation because it's taboo to hit each other's infrastructure for the oil, and it does severe damage to their economies and to civilians because they can no longer make money and feed their people. So those have been off limits, and they've all followed those rules until Israel broke it yesterday. I think they're going to have a problem where Trump wants to stop the war and Netanyahu does not. And I think that's why Netanyahu is going to strike whatever he wants to. And at some point, somebody's going to hit Kark Island, and then things are going to get nasty over there. Things are going to get very, very nasty, and which is why we haven't done it. And Trump's threatened to do it, but he hasn't done it yet. And the fact that he said he won't hit the southern oil field suggests to me somebody's explained to him, we're not hitting Kark Island either. If the Marines land there, I will be A, very surprised, and B, very sad, because it's not going to end well for anybody.
Terry Furis Furious Fella. I checked out a YouTube video about geography of all of Iran. It's an incredible country, very, very varied, even has a rainforest. Yes. It's like when I went to Pakistan, Terry. I was in Pakistan, and you're down in Karachi, and it's 110 degrees, and you can go all the way up in the mountains past Islamabad and get up next to China, and there's snow on the ground. Just crazy, 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 crazy. Now, a couple of questions here. Somebody asked, Greg, do you have any update on the reporters that were almost hit from Russia in Lebanon? They're fine. They took a little shrapnel. It's Russia Today reporters, so standing on a bridge. I see talk going on about, and this is good, this is Viggo Holmsen, desalination plants, water plants, and those are critical as well, that we need to keep our eye on. And then there was another question in here from Lorraine Bartosh. Greg, any update on Russia trying to change the demographics, the prepping to move people into Ukraine? Let me say it that way, and let me do this. And maybe you guys didn't hear about it, but we'll back out. I'll take Street View off. Let me go back to the regular map. So, yes, it is confirmed now, and it's becoming more and more confirmed every day. Very reputable sources, reports from inside Ukraine. Also, even some trustworthy, even coming out of Russia. There are some trustworthy reporters that come out of Russia. They may not be in Russia, but their pulse there. I mean, like a Gary Kasparov, Konstantin, who left. I'm going to get him on here. We've talked about that. But what is actually happening is here in Far East, Moscow destroying the economy over here, taking people's herds, taking away their ability to earn a livelihood, which forces them to then be dependent on Moscow, gives them two options: join the military and go get eliminated by Ukraine, or join the 100,000 people that we're going to send to our Donbass and our Novorossiya, and we're going to resettle it with people. This is nothing but the 1940s plan of Joseph Stalin. It's nothing but a repeat. So yes, that is legit. This is some of the grand goals of Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. Nick, let me check the last couple of things here
right.
that we wanted to talk about. So we've covered Cuba. We've covered the United States lifting sanctions on our enemies.
Yes, we have.
Ukraine and I'm sorry, Russia and Belarus and Iran. We're doing good on that. We covered the European Union as of now unable to get that 90 billion allocation through in the 20th round of sanctions against Russia and the support for Ukraine because Fico and Orban. Let's see here. Fico and Orban blocked it. One of the things we need to pay attention to, and I was thinking about this, it's public information now, my middle daughter getting married in June, and my oldest daughter will be birthing my first grandkid in September. It's quite a year.
Congratulations. Oh
my
gosh.
son graduating high school. So I'm going to be a grandfather
Hey,
Unbelievable.
congratulations. You get all. My understanding is you get all the perks of being a parent without any of the downsides. As soon as the diaper needs to be changed, it's just like, here you go.
It's a pappy. I'm going to be pappy.
Yeah, pappy.
But the reason I bring that up, it's now been made public for both of my daughters, so I don't mind sharing. It's a happy festive time. But my daughter's looking at my middle daughter getting married, looking at air travel for a honeymoon, and the price keeps going up, up. And jet fuel prices that we do not think about in Europe have doubled, $1,600 US per ton to $10 per barrel since the war in Iran started. The previous high was set in 2022 at the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine. The U.S. aviation fuel has increased 60%. So, this is something I set aside as well, that your life is affected everywhere. And then I did have the Reuters report confirming that Iran's attack on Qatar damaged those facilities we were looking at earlier. 17% of the company's ability to export LNG, liquefied natural gas, has been eliminated and will take 3 to 5 years to rebuild that infrastructure. So that was the last things I had set aside. If you want to make some comments here, I'll check the chats one more time, and I'll see if there's anything I've missed.
The only thing I want to say, the biggie that we talked about earlier too was Tulsi Gabbard testifying and saying that, and this goes to two things that we've already discussed, but she, when testifying, said that Iran was not trying to enrich their uranium to weapons grade. It was close, but they weren't trying to do it. They weren't trying to rebuild the facilities that were destroyed during Operation Midnight Hammer. And this was stuff we already knew because MI6 and everybody else told us the same thing, and the UN inspectors were going in, and everything was fine. And Trump, to his credit, I not only supported Obama, I worked on the campaign, as anyone who's been on my show knows. And, I was a big fan of Obama. The first Iran deal I thought was pretty good. I think it would have worked. And it had a couple of faults in it, but they weren't severe faults. Trump actually got a better deal out of Iran. And the day before the war started, they said they'd give up all of their enriched uranium that they weren't going to use for very specific either medical or electrical generation projects. So, and it was going to be a permanent deal. So he actually negotiated, to his credit, a better deal than Obama had. But then the next day he attacked Iran, and here we are. And he said he did it because they were going to have the ability to and intent to strike the U.S. at any moment. And Tulsi Gabbard basically said that was not true. It's not basically, she outright said that was not the case. But it was funny because her written statements said that wasn't the case, but when she read her written remarks, she skipped that paragraph, and one of the senators noticed that, and said, "You skipped the part where you contradict President Trump." And he said, "Were they a threat or not? Yes or no?" She said, "It's not my job to determine." She's the head of national security. That's exactly what her job is, and they pointed that out. It actually says that her job in the description is to identify threats, the scale and level of threat, and to pass that information on to the president so he can make an informed decision. And she said, "No, I just pass information on, and he tells us what's a threat and what isn't." And it's terrifying because it goes to what you had said earlier about they're just sort of the sycophant, this, you can't contradict him, he can't be wrong. It's this cult of personality that's absolutely terrifying.
And a lot of that, and people know my background, a lot of that I hate to say was due to the Christian nationalism, hard right, portraying him as the Messiah, which I completely reject, stand against. Jesus and Donald Trump are not even on the same planet, universe. That's just the way it is. Like, we can sing a song now. And I mean, when you have churches rolling down wagons with statues, that's evil. We've got to a church in Alabama right now working on building a 35-foot tall gold-colored statue to Donald Trump. Okay, that's called Baal worship, you pagan idiots. Okay, sorry.
Well, no,
So-
isn't that against the Ten Commandments? I
It's
mean,
against
worshiping
everything that a normal Christian would believe in. It's evil.
Yeah.
By the way, I believe it was 2008, 10, Donald Trump stated that any president that goes to war with Iran and the Middle East should immediately be impeached.
Yes, he did say that.
Okay.
2008.
2000. All right, let me get this here. And guys, thank you so much. I think we've covered everything, but let me.
It was the smorgasbord show.
It was. It's been a great show. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Once again, I want to hit everybody. Oink, thank you. Thanks to all the mods. You guys rock as always. I tried to get as many questions on the back as I could. Oink, gifting the memberships. Michelle Esquera, thank you for supporting the channel and everything that you do. Papa Dutch, $5 super chat. At this point, I think of it as the dyslexic department. I would agree with that. Adam Rounds, member for 25 months. Thank you, Adam. The Trump regime is no different than listen to the Putin regime. That's exactly right. And I think that's what we were communicating. Yeah, and Rick from the Netherlands earlier, 11.99 euro. Trump spoke out on March the 16th, having the honor to take Cuba. On the 18th, he stated, we'll be doing something with Cuba very soon. Should we take that seriously? I can't keep up with the madness. Neither can we. But as we were discussing, you have a couple of Russian tankers berth up. It'll be interesting.
Somebody needs to do something because
Yes.
those people are on the verge of
A catastrophe.
humanitarian crisis.
Yes, a catastrophe.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of,
Yeah.
I haven't been to Cuba, but my dad has been there many, many times, and just a lot of wonderful people there.
What was it they said? The only war that Trump has had an exit strategy for was Vietnam.
But he showed the family picture in his uniform.
Oh, he was in his uniform. That's true. Bone spurs and all.
Linda S. gifting 10 memberships. Thank you for that. Steve Cousins, crew member for the 3rd month. Thank you. And BB Blonde Bombsheller got you for that $10 super chat earlier. Linda S. Thank you for your shout out to the mods. We talked about sea drones protecting. We talked to Mark Bisque and Elena and Papa Dutch. $2 super chat. May all your enemies be dumb. You know what? Papa Dutch sent me a t-shirt. This is the perfect time to show it. Hang on.
All right. We're going to wait. Well, thank you. Welcome all to the Greg Terry Experience. My name is not Greg Terry. I can sit here and entertain you all. I would juggle if I could, but I got nothing to juggle with. I'm sure Greg would like to express his ultimate gratitude in all of this. And I've been enjoying, there's been some great comments, and thank you to the mods. And and there he is.
You guys know that I typically wear black shirts on the stream. So this comes in from Papa Dutch. Russia ruins everything.
That's what they do.
It's just what they do. My wife we got that all laundered and ready for the week.
No pun intended.
And then we have peace, but not in pieces. Really good shirt. Yes.
That's a good one.
And I wear it with pride. Crimea is part of Ukraine. Say peace, but not in pieces. The guy, he's sharp cookie. Camellia Matson, Trump wants to destroy America. Swedish Kroner, Camilla, Donald Trump doesn't understand America. Donald Trump understands Donald Trump. That's the best way I can answer that. Rick from Netherlands again, Trump can be bought easily. €5.99. Look at Adelson, biggest campaign sponsor, biggest lobbyist for Israel. She achieved a lot. That is exactly right. And in fact, I saw a statistic today that since February of 2025, Trump's net worth has went from 2.5 billion to 6.5 billion in 1 year. What else do you need to know? He is the one that puts pictures on emails of him at a soldier's coffin coming back from this war requesting money. It is no morality in that human being, period. Dunk on you, we got you. Thank you for getting in here late. And he said hello to you, Nick, on that super chat and gifting the memberships. Oink ripping at my mod going after your mod. Titan Uranus official set a goat on fire for Nick from Oink Hungarian Foreign.
Oh,
Daddy Jim Fella, member for 12 months. Sorry, I'm late. Watching from the beginning. Daddy Jim Fella, UA 10 pounds. My two favorite hosts. Perfect. Wouldn't it be funny if Zelenskyy offers Trump help with the U.S. drones? LOL. Exactly. Oh, there you go.
Fire. We got it.
Petra Olsen in the house from Sweden with her Swedish non-smoking initiative with love to Ukraine.
Let me get some water. I can still hear.
Rick from the Netherlands, 249 euros. Sorry for the conspiracy. Why did Mossad miss October 7th, 23? A very good point on that, but we could go deep on that because I can still remember initial videos from that, and I personally heard a lot of Russian language being spoken on that day. I know Russian. I know I was hearing Russian. I'm a 1983 Norwegian kroner. I love you, Greg. Trump and the EU are playing a game. Europe sent ships long ago that are ready. I hope so. Rick from the Netherlands, member 20 months. Grats to the grandpa. Thank you. Appreciate that. Jeff Wright, 10 pounds. What do you know of strikes conducted in the Caspian Sea against vessels moving stuff from Russia and Iran? Thank you, Jeff. That's what I'm going to close with. I meant to cover that. Just not good. $2. Trump is in the Bible. The snake in the garden. Mitch Ashdown, Canadian 20. Good stream. And thank you for reminding me of that. I had the map ready to go. Bandar Azizi. Bandar Anzali. That's where was hit. Let's do it this way. We'll go on the layer map here. The question was, what do we know about the strikes in the Caspian Sea? The strikes in the Caspian Sea were on the port. Let me get rid of that drawing right here. And I'll zoom in and show you that port. But just so you guys know, this is Russia. And this is Iran. They run goods back and forth nonstop. Who's policing the Caspian Sea? Russia and Iran. It's not the Med. It's a closed sea. I mean, they do what they want to. I'm sure there's others there, but they do what they want to. So there was a very important strike that took place that can actually benefit Ukraine. And it was right here at Bandar Anzali at this port right here. This is what they were striking. There were 3 ships docked, and that is what they went after. So for sure, guys, goods are going back and forth nonstop between Iran and Russia through the Caspian Sea. And just for a reference, just so you know, this is also where Russia has its fleet in the Caspian that fires a lot of missiles at Ukraine. And maybe you didn't realize, but see, there's Kharkiv and Dnipro and Kyiv, Russia, Caspian Sea, Iran. It's all close on the big scheme of things. So that's what we're looking at there. Once again, Nick, thank you, bud. Make sure I got everybody.
Oh, it's been
here.
my pleasure. Thank you so much. This was your idea. I appreciate it.
It's been a great stream, guys. Thank you for spending 2 hours together with us. There's no major breaking news right now other than initial reports coming out that Iran about 20 minutes ago took down another F-35, not destroying it, but clipping it, and it had to do an emergency landing in the UAE. And now
Those are
there's
expensive.
Very, man. And I mean, that's our big boys. You know,
I'm really glad we cut all the Medicare benefits, the food stamps, and AIDS medication to impoverished communities in the U.S. so that we could fly F-35s that can get shot out of the sky.
Yes, by a nation that has been 100% eliminated of their ability to strike. Yes, we've taken them completely out. So, guys, thank you. Thank you to all the mods. Thank you to everybody. Make sure that you, Vigo, a flotilla, a fleet, a flotilla. Fair enough. They shoot a lot of missiles, though, Vigo. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you to the mods. Make sure if you haven't subscribed to Nick, you do so over there. You can see the level and the quality of Nick, and we'll be doing more of this. So thanks, bud.
My pleasure. Thank you. We're going to have you back on too. It'll be
great. Oh, yeah. All right, guys. Have a good night. Have a good night. Thank you again.